Dr. Siri Sat Nam, a licensed marriage family therapist with a profound understanding of the soul's journey. Dr. Siri leads us through the intersections of psychology, spirituality, and the human experience. His best-selling book, The Pocket Guru, was awarded the 2020 Walden Award for Excellence in Mind, Body, and Healing. As the host of the hit show, The Therapist on Vice, he's brought healing to countless celebrities. Get ready to explore the depths of your being as we embark on the journey of the soul. This is Push Forward with Dr. Siri Sat Nam.
I want to know, when people come in here for the first time, what is the first thing that you ask them? What is the first thing that happens, as this is actually my first time, like, in a therapist speaking with one? And so what is the first thing that happens? And can you walk me through that?
Well, there is no agenda except that I have to connect with you. And you've been brought to me, you found me. I'm not just dancing on tabletops out there. So some kind of way the universe brought us together. And one of the rules, like, therapists, we have techniques too. Now, the master knows the rules, but may consciously break it. Now, the rule is when a client comes in, the client should be the first to speak. That's the rule, the technical rule. Now, I can do small talk. We break the rule.
Right.
I do small talk to get you engaged, whatever, but if I'm really being technical, you should say the first thing. So what I'm getting at is that as soon as you email me, I'm already connected. The way you phrase the request to see me, how long it takes you to respond to my response. I'm processing the whole thing. Soon as you reach out to me, the therapy has started.
As soon as you reach out to me,
the therapy has started. I'm already processing how you phrased it, what you said.
What did you feel?
What I'm sensing.
Yeah, what are you sensing?
What I'm feeling, what comes into the room, whether you've been in therapy before, whether I'm, where you are reaching out to me just to be in my presence, or if you really want to do the work. I can see that too. Sometimes people just wish to be in my therapist. They say, in my energy field, they've seen the show. But then some people want to do the work. And I work in a growth model. So if I work with you, if I take you on as a client and you choose me as a therapist, you got to grow. And if you don't grow, I will ethically present it's unethical for me to continue to work with you.
And what are the first steps of that growth process look like?
Well, that's where I come into play. So if you're not growing, it's not just you. So you've come in for assistance. That means that maybe I don't know how to connect with you. Maybe I'm not saying it correctly. Maybe I'm not diagnosing you correctly. Maybe I'm saying I'm the problem. But if you don't grow, this relationship can't continue.
Wow.
Okay, and now I'm not saying, that's weeks, that's months, that's years. I'm saying we have to both discuss, what's happening here. So I don't have an agenda except I have to connect with you. And then I think it's one of the best things about a good therapist, if we find one, is that they can accurately reflect you. See, that's as good as it gets.
So if I am vulnerable with how I feel, say right now, if I become vulnerable, then you could reflect that in a way.
Hopefully. I mean, I will give it back to you, say like, Preston, I'm sensing da-da-da-da-da-da, or I wonder da-da-da-da. Is this make any sense to you? And you'll tell me yes or no.
Right. I wanted to ask you, of people that are going through that, it could be a breakup, and maybe it's just some pain. How do people deal with that pain without running to drugs, without running to alcohol, without running to whatever it is that they're going to
running period.
How do we deal with that?
Well, you said it. Just you sit with it. And men in particular, we're not taught.
It hurts.
We're not taught to sit with those feelings. We can act them out. Like everything you said is the way men deal with pain, drugs, alcohol. Maybe go get into another relationship real quick. Sex. All that kind of stuff. That's working out. All those are very physical, masculine ways of dealing with pain rather than just acknowledging your feelings and writing them out, talking them out, being with them, see where it leads you, crying it out, being with it. We don't know how to. See, masculine principle is doing. Feminine principle, which is feelings, is being. And so I think a real balanced individual knows how to do and be. Often men just know how to do.
Definitely. Yeah, most definitely. You mentioned as well, I think you said like life is the journey of the soul. And I want to talk about
where did I say that?
You said that somewhere.
I said that somewhere. Sounds like I said that.
And I want to know your journey and how you started, through your journey, how you started this practice and what brought you here today from before to now. If we can go back a little bit.
Well, I can think of the moment when I decided to be a therapist. That's the question you're asking. I used to be a dancer, choreographer, and I was doing a video with my dear friend who's now left us, Michael Peters. And they were changing the cameras. And so I looked around, and everybody was in their corners doing what they do. And I looked around, and it was a very uncanny moment. And I was standing there in the middle of the stage, and I was just looking at everybody, and I realized people were depressed and anxious, lost, confused. And in that moment, the voice came to me, said, because I already had my BA. The smartest thing I ever did. I went straight from high school to college, got my BA at age 21. I had my BA at 21 in psychology.
What?
Then I went dancing for 15 years. Smartest thing I ever did, if anyone's listening. College is not so highlighted these days.
Why did you say that when you went to, what did psychology teach you about people?
Well, no, it wasn't because, I had to dance.
Yeah.
Like when we're young, we do what we have to do. It's the call of the soul. It's the call of the spirit. You got to do it. But you never think that your dance career is going to end. You never think that you're going to change. You never think that you don't want to do this anymore. And so when I lost my passion for dancing, I realized, I got a BA in psychology.
There's more. You tapped into your other gifts.
I already had another plan B in store and didn't even realize it.
But how did you notice that from the crowd to realize these people are going through this and these people are going through that as you were performing? What is that?
Well, that's that sensitivity,
And where does that come from?
I meditate daily, every day, and used to be 2.5 hours a day. Still not 2.5 hours a day, but not as early as it used to be.
2 hours.
Yeah. And so I've been consciously working on myself all these.
But as a kid, I'm saying when you're 15, 14, 25, were you doing that then? Was it did you always have this connection with people? Was it always like that?
I think you mentioned it. That's the call of the soul. Everyone, there's a soul inside of this corpse. As soon as that soul leaves, it's just a corpse. Just as handsome as he's sitting in front of me now, but a corpse. So the soul is what's living inside of you. And so the goal of life is for us to tune into the call of the soul. It changes.
How do we do that? I think a lot of us are struggling with that, finding our purpose.
Exactly.
We do what others want us to do or think we should do.
That's right.
And we get lost.
That's right.
And for years we try to go back to that child self.
Right. That's right.
And a lot of us are struggling to find that. So how do we do that?
Well, we're in this Western civilization. And in the West, we don't value spirit. We value materialism, money, house, fame, career. Okay. It stays here on planet Earth when the soul leaves. Mm-hmm. That's an earthly journey. Mm-hmm. The soul's journey is to tune into the unknown, the unseen. Mm. And so how do you do that? If you just get quiet and just listen to what you feel and know. And then you're coming into a relationship with your soul. Sometimes you hear nothing. That means do nothing. Sometimes I don't know what to do. I just do nothing. Then all of a sudden somebody calls or intuition comes. That's our intuition, when you can just get quiet and listen. Now all of us, I'm not special. All of us have that ability. Now, what distinguishes some from others is they obey. See, I obey. I woke up today, I have a wardrobe. I like clothes. I got that from my mother.
Okay.
And someone said, put on this blue jacket. I said, why? You questioned it. Look at you.
Okay. We're lying.
Like I see often on shows where they're, usually the first client of my day, I'm in the same colors they're in.
Wow.
Because I'm already tuning in to their energy. I'm a servant. So I know how to bow, how to listen, and how to obey to that ineffable voice, which is the guidance.
So
divine guidance.
We don't have to have a degree for this. We don't have to be super smart for this. Not super educated. All we have to do is learn to be still and trust.
Oh my God, what a word.
Process
what a word.
Of life. How do we do that? Because we have so much going on in our life, and we all want to reach a certain point. But I feel like in my life, things really started moving when I learned how to be still more.
Of course.
Even though it was challenging, when I had to just trust that all is well. Everything's going to work out. These trials and these tribulations I'm going through, it's actually building me.
Yes.
In a certain way, but I feel like...
So you trusted to...
I'm learning. I'm continuing. I'm on that journey. I mean, sometimes, I get a little like, I want this to, happen. But the more I learn to be calm, the more I learn to go to places that plenish my soul, go to the beach, go into nature where I love going to nature. That's how I connect. And that makes me feel good. And I also tell people, if you're feeling a little anxious, go to nature, go to a place where you find your peace. And, I know you're right when you're saying that. We have to, go within.
Well, you mentioned the word, which is, from my perspective, the highest consciousness on the planet.
Is that trust or love?
Trust. I love a lot of people I don't trust.
Okay.
I love a lot of people that I don't trust. Okay? All of us do. Trust is the highest consciousness. And I have a lot of people around me I trust. I trust. I won't mention them, but I got a lot of people around me I trust.
And did that happen through experience? Because sometimes we could, we could trust people too soon and we get burned. So how did that happen for you? But that took some time, right? Did you have to see kind of their character,
we learn. You learn through your mistakes. Discipline, that's Saturn. Saturn is the that wasn't to the camera. This is the Saturn finger, which is the finger of emotionality. Isn't it interesting that
is interesting.
The finger of emotionality. But Saturn is the hard teacher, discipline, taskmaster.
What's the biggest lesson that you had to learn? The biggest mistake that you were like, boom. This is something that shook me. This is something that I had to learn from.
Well, I think, you've already said it. All wisdom lies within. And, all of our parents, they wish us well. But sometimes, the parents can steer us away from the call of our soul. And the goal of a parent, a good parent, is to tune into the soul of your child. Not what you want them to do. What do they want to do? I love my parents. Where I said, my mom called me up, and so she says, "What are you doing?" I says, "Mom, I'm getting ready to go to dance class." Dance class? I says, "Yes, Mom. I think I'm gonna be a dancer." A dancer? she lost all.
She didn't get it. She didn't get it.
And then, years later, oh, my son is dancing on the Academy Awards with Juliet Prowse. Oh, he's on Broadway dancing with. Oh, he's in Europe teaching in Sweden and Germany. Oh, he's dancing with Donna Summer on television. But see, I was able to listen to the call of my soul.
How are you able to not only listen, but to believe? We have, majority of us go back to that where when other people can't see the vision, we stop believing. How do you still keep that belief in self? That's like that. Is that just?
We're in Los Angeles, right?
We in Los Angeles.
This is the most inauthentic city in the world. Okay, in this city, if you don't know who you are, well, okay. This city will eat you up and spit you out. I don't tell anybody to come to Los Angeles.
If you don't know yourself
if
first.
If you don't know yourself in New York, that's an authentic city. If they don't like you, they tell you. If they think you got it, come on down. In LA, they give you shade. It's like if you got it, they turn their back. And if you don't know who you are, you have had it. So LA's a tough city.
So what are the 3 principles of knowing who you are? What is if I want to, if there's whoever it is, if I want to know, is it just the stillness of it? Is it me being still that I'm finding that, or finding, how would you
I think
walk with somebody?
The first thing you have to do is be still and trust you. And trust the stillness. Like right now, we don't know where this interview's going, and I'll look back and go, did I say that? Like, you remember something I said, Journey of the Soul. That's just really, I think, what I surrender to in life right now. And just being still and trusting me. Like, who would have thought? I'm a dancer, choreographer. I was talented. A lot of my peers are really very, famous these days in terms of entertainment. I thought I was going to make it as a choreographer. Who would have thought I would have gotten some notoriety through a career where you are behind a closed door? Sworn to confidentiality. That makes no logical sense.
Reaching some of the biggest people on the planet as well.
That if I'm going for fame,
right,
awareness, wouldn't I go for the entertainment? But see, the call of my soul had something different in line for me. Now, that creativity of the performer, entertainer is still here. He hasn't gone anywhere. The creativity is still within me, being creative in that environment, that therapeutic environment.
Wow.
You just got to trust you. And we're not taught that.
Definitely, because
we're not taught that.
Right, because things in life, it can get scary.
Yeah, listen to what I say. Shut up, be quiet. Sometimes kids got to be, they got to be disciplined. But we should always be able to listen to them and see, because there's a wisdom inside of them. And we have to guide them, of course. We got to protect them. We have to discipline them.
Right.
We should never take the call of their soul away.
Tell me a little about your mom, your dad, and kind of what they meant to you and what you learned from them. And
well, I'm the only child on my mother's side. And I was raised right in the household with my grandmother, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, my mother, my stepfather, my aunt, and her husband was at one point. All of those people were in one household. And so I'm the only child. So I got a lot of energy.
So the wisdom that you were around with all the adults, it's almost like they poured into you not knowing, and you picked up on a lot of things that were
I don't like to hear myself say this, but I don't think I was ever a child because I was raised with all these adults. See, I had to,
grow up really quick.
Yeah, I hung with children, but
you didn't have
I'm in the household all the day with all these adults.
But were you always this confident? Did you ever feel like you're trying to find yourself? Because sometimes people think like, okay, you're a therapist, you have it all together. Was there ever a time where you didn't have it all together? Well, that you can share?
I think I work on myself consistently, and I try to be reflective of what's going on with me. And so I had a spiritual teacher. I've been into yoga since 1974. So I found a discipline to help me. And so these days in time, 2023, it feels very dangerous. Doesn't feel like a safe society at all. And I was just processing the word danger. So danger. I was thinking about what is the danger that we're always at risk for? Illness, okay. From my perspective, when we get ill, and I had COVID about a few months ago.
Oh, I'm out of here.
I hope it's gone. It went into my back.
Yeah, back.
I never heard that.
I never heard of it. Okay.
Went into my back.
Okay.
I was on a walker, knee.
What?
And a cane. Couldn't walk.
Wow.
And illness. And so I had to walk my own talk. It felt like, oh my God, am I ever going to walk again? I mean, it was just great pain, I went to an orthopedic surgeon. I went to 2 chiropractors. I went to a physical therapist throughout the week. I wound up diagnosing my own self. They were all treating the symptom. Like when I work with individuals, especially if you have a physical illness, I said the best that the doctors can give you is a curing. They're going to treat the symptom. In the medical field in America, they treat the symptom. When you come to me, I'm going for the cause. That's healing. There's a difference between curing and healing. So illness is one danger we're at risk for. And when we get ill, my perspective is Jungian in that perspective, and I think it's a real understanding universally that the gods are asking for your attention.
Are you okay? Because what I'm hearing now is I'm trying to even hearing an analogy of it is the world, like you said, it's dangerous. The world it feels like it's ill. The world in itself is going through this trouble. Okay. And I feel that how can we shift? Because a lot of us are watching the news, we're stressed, we're overwhelmed. And so how do we learn to shift our perspective on the problems and figure out how we could do something in the world to make a difference?
Well, I think you said something very profound. The world has a soul too, see? See, you have a soul, I have a soul, so does the world. The world is on its own trajectory of its own soul. So all the things that are happening are part of the cleansing, purification, evolution of the soul of the world. So what I'm getting at is that the only thing that when individuals come from me at the highest consciousness, and we don't do that with all clients, it's meditation, to help cleanse you, to empty you so the universe can talk to you, and perhaps you can protect yourself so that you're not in the wrong place at the wrong time. And what I've come to understand is a lot of people are a danger to themselves.
How so?
Your subconscious mind. Like you grew up and you had some experiences that you haven't processed, it's still there. Like, for example, you talk about trusting yourself. I find that in working with a lot of individuals, they have been unconsciously shamed in their family of origin or their life experiences. Unconsciously.
Well, I'll speak on that. Even myself, I was diagnosed with ADHD. So I was super hyper, right?
Yes.
So my teachers put me in special ed classes. And so for a long time, I would feel...
you were not intelligent.
I thought I was not intelligent. I thought I wasn't good enough. Shame.
Yeah.
Feeling... Until I started to like read different books and try to, and Prince would say, no, Preston, you sharp. You all right.
Yeah.
But it took me years to come out of that.
Of course.
But that false belief.
Of course.
That I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't smart enough. So I had to transform that word to say, I'm not maybe special ed, but I am special.
Oh, it's deep work, and that's in the unconscious. Shame goes to the core.
Is there a process again? Is it just going back to meditation?
Yeah, it's a lot of different techniques. I don't have the only a lot of our, therapists and New Age gurus and spiritual teachers are talking about the shame. Not the only one. Cleansing the subconscious mind with meditation is one.
How do we get rid of
journaling?
Yeah, how do we get rid of negative thoughts? That's a big right now. A lot of people have negative thoughts. They think bad about themselves.
Yeah.
How do we get rid of that?
Yeah, well, I meditate. That's the best I got for you. Therapy, if it works on those unconscious levels, I may get tomatoes thrown at me, but just to work on a conscious level, so limited. Because there's more to life than just consciousness. There's the unconscious, there's the superconscious. So just to tell you to do, but what's happening on the unconscious level? Nobody wants to be poor, bad relationships, addictive, none of that. All of that is on the unconscious level as to why you've adopted this way of being in the world. So the level I work on is more here. If I work here, this will change. But if I just work here, that stuff is still down there. So you got to find techniques to cleanse that.
And then you can help them go to the higher consciousness. So what does that look like? Is that starting in our food? What does that look like to live in a high consciousness energy? We're hearing about it all the time right now. Manifestation. What? Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
I'm listening. Yeah.
What is it? Because we all want to live in this high vibration, but we're not.
Well, what I'm becoming aware of, just because I'm working on myself, doesn't mean everybody else is working on themselves. And so what I'm getting at is that if you don't have a teacher or a means or a discipline or a focus to work on yourself, it's you're forfeiting growth. I'm experiencing a lot of people that have never, in that, there are three ways to learn in life. You can learn from a teacher, others, books. You can learn from your own experience, your mistakes.
Big time. You can learn from that.
A lot of people don't learn the third.
What's the third?
They don't learn. Some people keep making the same mistakes. That's the unconscious, subconscious stuff like, something happened in the family of origin, the life experience that's still stuck there, and they haven't got the root. So they keep these repetitive patterns, and they get nowhere in life, and they don't learn. And that's sad for me. A lot of people don't learn, and they keep the same. If you don't do the work, you don't change.
If you don't do the work, you don't change.
You don't change. You don't grow.
You don't grow. You stay stuck.
You don't.
You stay frozen in time.
You stay frozen in time. And fooling yourself is sad.
So the work comes with
Whatever it is, you decide.
Yeah, you have to,
your teacher, your book to read, your journaling, your whatever.
But we have to pull it out.
You got to focus. I found a teacher. I have a technique. I meditate. Okay, it works for me.
So what's one technique you can just?
Oh God, please.
One technique right now we can do that it could help me. For instance,
all right, this is one right here. This is we talked about Saturn, and we talked about. We didn't get to Jupiter.
Okay.
Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, and exploration, and expansion. So that's the other way to learn. Now, if you're not expanding in life, okay, get real with yourself. If you're not growing, get real with yourself. You know, what do I need to do to grow, to expand? Yeah, and what I've come to see the through line in all of those that come to me is it's hard to change. It's hard because the ego has this identity that I'm da-da-da-da. And that's your identity. And if the ego surrenders to that identity that, oh, I'm a man, I can't feel, I can't show my feelings, that's where you're stuck.
So the ego can keep us stuck from growing.
Because it's your identity. But if your ego merges with the universal ego, then you're in you're constant.
What is the difference between the natural ego, higher consciousness ego?
Well, the ego, the world has a soul. See, the world got an ego.
Okay.
The world got a soul.
Okay, yep.
We got an individual soul, individual ego. Now, if I stay here and just, I'm limited. If I merge with this, oh my God, things open up. I know things I don't know.
Now, when you say merge with this, what is that? Is that God? What is that?
Call it what you want to. That's whatever works for you. But don't act like it ain't there. Okay, I call that stubborn has turned into stupid. You can act like it ain't there if you want to. You're going to take you off the planet one day. You can act like it ain't there. You got to come to some kind of relationship that works for you. But don't act like it's not there. Learn how to work with it so it works within your behalf.
I've learned to exactly what you're saying, that there's obviously, like the biggest things that have ever happened in my life definitely came from something bigger than me. And I've always acknowledged that. Doesn't matter what opportunity come, I always know that there's something greater that has been through and through within me. To me, it's God. To others, as you say, there's different, however they, however you express, but I think when we understand that and we start to use our gifts to help people and serve people, we feel better. And I've just seen that there's people that I've met who have things, they have material things, but they're just not happy. They have a lot of money, but they're not happy. And I wasn't making zillions of dollars, but the fact that I was able to use my gift from, even if it's skateboarding, even if it's mentoring or listening, that there was this connection that I felt, and I still feel it, even as we're connecting now. It's a beautiful thing.
There's earthly wealth and there's spiritual wealth. Okay, they're different. You can have earthly wealth, but you don't have to have spiritual wealth. It's nice to have them both.
I agree.
Okay, we're not proselytizing, just,
Right.
We're out of the age of the Piscean age where to be spiritual was to be poor and a mendicant. I'm not proselytizing that. That was the image, that to be spiritual, you have to be, a beggar, mendicant, negate physical, financial wealth. We're out of that age, the Piscean age. Gone. Done. Finito. Gracias. We're into the Aquarian age, which if you're not in union with yourself, if you are in union with yourself, you'd have abundance.
Is that meditation? You start there.
Well, it's all, it's like,
Okay.
but I mean, it's like whatever technique, means, path, discipline you choose, as long as it's real, to help you get that. And you can tell if your work is working by if your environment is changing. Another way is when you get off center, things happen to us all. I'm not immune by no means. When things happen to us, how long does it take you to get back to center? Lets you know how centered you are. So just look at your environment. See what's there. What ain't there? Relationships, money, the house, poverty, loss, depression, anxiety. Oh, last week, I was a little low. I was a little, and I think one thing, I hadn't been drinking water. I should drink more water. I got that from my mother. So I started guzzling water.
Okay.
Of course, I was dehydrated. But then I was still a little low, and I realized, ain't nobody here making me miserable but myself. I have so much peace. I was connecting it to boredom. And I realized that to go, what am I doing? I have nothing but peace, and I've done the work, and let me settle into that. So sometimes, regardless of what, the work you do, you can still get a little off center and a little lost. But if you got the techniques and the tools and a means, you can get back to center pretty quick. It didn't take me but a few minutes to go like, Sat Nam Singh, you're doing this to your own darn self. Ain't nobody here make you crazy.
But what
for me?
Right.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about it, just like you said, is you do the work, but sometimes you get low sometimes.
Low.
And you have to remind yourself that I have to, let me get my thinking together. Get some water.
Meditate or water. What am I doing?
I gotta work out. I gotta run. Maybe I gotta take a jog. I gotta clear my mind a little bit. So I think that's beautiful that people can see that you still are working on yourself. You still have mentors. You still read. I do. And that's what we need to hear, because sometimes we feel like people have it all together. I used to think like, they got money, they got it all together. And
what I have come to see with my clients that are, financially very comfortable, and most of them are, that if you haven't taken yourself along with your success, or you don't have a means by which you tune into your spirit and your soul, having all of that, as Michael Peters used to say, stuff, amplifies the fact that you don't have yourself. Got all the money in the world, houses, cars, but if you don't have a relationship with spirit, it's not a happy existence.
how do we learn to even detach ourselves from the material stuff and learn how to, even relationships, or just being able to be comfortable with ourselves again? How do we do that?
Well, I don't want you to be detached. It's not a good word for me.
Okay.
Or attached.
Okay.
Attached. We all have attachments. But we're attached to.
Right.
Unattached.
Unattached. Okay.
Unattached means I'm neutral. And that's the space of God consciousness. Not to be positive or to be negative. Neutral. And then I'm at one.
So you don't try to think in a more positive.
Oh, please! That's such an imbalance. That I don't know who put that out there. Sometimes teaching, sometimes things catch on that don't serve you. Okay, they used to say the earth was flat. Okay, didn't serve us. Wrong. Sometimes teachings are wrong. Things we learn in our family don't serve us. And that's up to us as we become older and adults to go, oh God, I got to throw that away. That doesn't work.
What is something that didn't work for
Boys don't cry.
Okay.
That doesn't, that's something that takes men away from their emotionality. And we as a culture sit with that. Boys don't cry. Okay. Horrible teaching that has disconnected us. And there's a lot of stuff that you have to go through. Oh, this doesn't work for me anymore.
Definitely. I'm just thinking over my life and thinking, like I said, what I went through and things I had to remove. Is there anything in your life as well that you had to like stop or transform, or that doesn't work for me, and kind of that helped you? Or
Yeah, I think in terms of, like, for example,
or labels,
like I've been married, the whole thing. Like sometimes to be single,
you were married.
yeah, to be single is sometimes a thing in our culture, because if you're single, what's wrong with you? So that's something there that is cultural, that you have to be in a relationship to be happy, fulfilled. Some people are happily divorced. Some people are unhappily married.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's just one that's cultural, like in terms of relationships, to where and to be in a relationship is beautiful if you find your mate. It's beautiful. And it's the best thing to work with another to come to even a higher evolution with yourself. But if that hasn't happened for you, you have to understand, okay, this is the call of my soul now. And to go against the cultural narrative and come into the narrative of your individual soul, I'm finding that is very paramount in my work with my clients, because often the call of their soul is not in relationship to the call of the cultural narrative. Like, say, individuals who are identifying as non-binary, that ain't nowhere in the culture in terms of like, they got politicized in it, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, for those individuals to come into an identity and realization of who they are, it's the call of their soul. Am I making any sense to you? Yeah. And so that is great individuals, those who have gone down in history, they've all taken risk and usually have gone against the cultural narrative. We won't even get into being black. Okay, we're not even going there. Culture, things in the culture about black people that we have to work against to come into the realization of who you are. Like the great John Lewis, Good Trouble. Okay, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So, all of the greats took risks.
Yes, all of the greats took an individual path. Yeah.
We have to get back to that, taking those risks for the good.
For yourself. Because that's all you got. All you got is yourself.
It starts there.
Your first breath it's all about your breathing.
Yep, my breath is my miracle.
Oh, well, I can't breathe for you. I can't die for you either. So why should I try to live for you? I can't live your life. You got to live your life. You have to identify with who you are. I can support you. I will.
Right.
But you have to, so my work is to help that individual realize the beauty of their individuality and to come to understand it's okay.
Right. We were speaking earlier, you brought up narcissism.
Lord.
And I just wanted, if you could give me, what is a narcissist? Break it down for me, because there could be people that are dealing with them. And what does that look like in terms of a relationship with a narcissist? What does that look like? So people can identify.
Well, in my practice, in my work, if I identify you as rather narcissistic, it's very difficult to effect change with you, because a narcissist is extremely shame-based. So that's where narcissism comes from. They're shame-based and don't identify, haven't acknowledged it. Like, we can look in the political arena of when you attack certain individuals, and if you shame them, they come at you like that. That's the epitome of narcissism.
Shame.
And narcissists, you can't really teach them anything. They
do they admit guilt? Do they?
It's like There's some people that are really incurable. I'm not under the interpretation, understanding that I can heal the world. Narcissist. If I come across one,
how can you tell right away though? How would you be able to, is it just?
It's just like, when that's where your sensitivity comes into place. It's like, I can go, oh, he or she is on the spectrum. It's like,
experience.
Yeah,
it's your
experience. Sensitivity. Yeah.
It heightens.
And your relationship with them doesn't mean that you may not decide to be with them, but if you understand that's who they are, understand the limitations of that relationship, And so it's very painful. Like I said, just because you're working on yourself,
that doesn't mean
everybody else is working on themselves. And that's where your work comes into play. It's like, okay, in this moment, I think I'm being very conscious. How do I consciously relate to this individual? Do I consciously let them go and give them to God? Not to pathologize them. They're there for a reason. They adopted this way of being, this way in the world. Things have happened in their family of origins to why they adopted this way of being. That's where your empathy comes into play. Doesn't mean I got to bring you to my house and feed you dinner. Yeah.
So shame is where it starts, and if they don't release that shame,
based.
They don't release that shame.
See, that's how they deflect against it. Shame based, so they defend way against it. I'm the best, and I know, and da 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 da. So then you're the problem, not me, because I know, and I'm it, and da 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 da. It's a defense mechanism against this. If you try to say anything to make them reflective of,
well, they run, they kind of flee,
or they deflect you and call you crazy.
And we'll say that's gaslighting. I guess that's how they...
Yeah, so, not to pathologize anybody. Just got to be aware, like, okay, do the best you can. I think everybody's doing the best they can. So
with what they know in their experience, but we have to do the work.
And we all have to work on ourselves. We don't have to, but you won't grow.
And I want to grow.
You won't grow.
I want to grow to be my highest self.
You want to expand. You want to expand.
So at right now where you are, obviously you're still expanding. How do you feel now of where you were to where you are now? How does it, I guess, that feeling of expansion, what does that higher consciousness feel like to you?
Well, there's a part of me that's the same with everyone. It's like there's a part of me, I'm still creative.
Right.
I'm still individual. I'm still daring. I still take risk. See, that doesn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? So now how that manifests in the world, okay, it used to be as a daring choreographer. Now it's a daring therapist, that's all, you being in tune with yourself. And that's, and often, when you're in tune with yourself, often others don't get it. That's hurtful for you and challenging for you, but you got to trust.
Got to trust. And what do you think about also the art of manifestation? Do you believe in that? Is that real? Can we manifest things? Are there tools and steps to doing that? What does that look like to you?
Well,
because you're hearing that so much now, and it's popular, so it's one of the...
there's pop culture. And they pick up things in the universal psyche. But I think if I can share anything in this a podcast that is integral to, growth and evolution, is work. It's no easy formula. It's work. I have a doctorate. It didn't happen overnight. Okay. 6 years on my dissertation, 3 years in school, a lot of pain and challenge. Okay. I've been in school quite a few years. I meditate daily for decades. It doesn't happen overnight.
Nothing happens overnight.
Well, you can. I mean, sometimes you get a phone call, your career changes, life changes. I did get a phone call, just like.
Can we speak upon that a little bit of that phone call?
The show that I had, the therapist, they said they interviewed me, but I don't remember being interviewed. It was like a phone call, and the gentleman the producer and I was like, because I asked them, they just called me and said, come on down for filming. Uh-huh.
He said, huh? Right.
Come on, for filming? What? Oh, we want you to do therapy with celebrity rappers.
Like, what?
And I literally asked them, why did you hire me? I don't remember going. They showed me a list, about 3 pages, double lines of therapists they had interviewed.
But they wanted you. Why is it? And why do you think that? Why do you think they wanted you?
I asked them.
Okay.
I said, why did you hire me? And the producer said, I'll tell you at the end of the show, at the end of the first shoot. We had the first shoot. I said, okay. And why did you hire me? He said, okay. You worked with one of my family members.
What?
And you did such a good job.
What?
We didn't consider anybody else.
Wow.
To this day, I don't know who that family member is.
No, I don't even remember. You just did the work.
They didn't tell me.
Wow.
So you never know.
Wow.
When God is in your presence. That's why you disrespect nobody. To this day, I don't know who that person is that got me that television show.
What?
I don't even know how much they paid me. I'm sure. Okay, wow. I don't know to this day.
Because you did the work, because you were just yourself.
Neutral.
You didn't even.
Serving.
You weren't even trying to get into the business.
Not trying to get into business.
It happened.
Not thinking about a show.
Wow. My goodness.
So that's the thing I find, that you just keep doing the work.
And it's going to come.
And the work eventually works.
The work eventually works after you do the work.
If the work is real.
If the work is real.
That's right.
If it's authentic.
That's right. The work has got to be real. So you can tell if it's real by if your environment is changing. Oh, I used to have all kind of problems. Car breakdown. Oh, God, I got no money to get it fixed. Oh, I mean, my marriage broke up. I moved back home with my mom, and she's like, one day, you got to go. I like, oh, no. I got into my red Chevette with $100. And how I went from that to where I now own a home and I'm financially comfortable. And how did that happen? I went straight to my spiritual community. I didn't have to sleep on the streets or do anything illegal. I went to my spiritual community, and miracles just kept happening. So that
miracles kept happening. What is a miracle to you? What does that look like? What is a miracle? Sometimes we think miracles have to be a big thing, but what is a miracle to you? And do you see them every day?
I see them often. It's a miracle. Who are you? Why'd you find me?
Exactly.
It's like that which is beyond your imagination. So a miracle is when there's that union with the known and the unknown, and the impossible comes forth. It's like people who sometimes have, quote, incurable diseases, and they heal. One day you got no money, the next day
I can.
It's
a blessing.
One day you're unknown, next day you know. Had all that, One day you got a house and no furniture in it. Next thing,
there you go. Wow.
So you just don't give up.
You just don't. How do we
do the work?
How do we? You spoke on just right now about not giving up, and when I'm speaking at schools, a lot of youth are struggling with that that resilience part.
Oh God.
Because the rejection, everything, they just feel like, and I'm like, that shows strength. But how would you encourage somebody to keep going, to have that resilience, that get back up? What would you tell them?
Well, it's You said it at the beginning, it's not a journey of the dollar, the relationship, it's a journey of the soul. So soul goes down. Soul is dark. Soul is depression. Soul is suicidal stuff, thoughts at times. Soul is the dark moments of your life. And I don't run from that. That's when I know, I'm getting ready to grow. So I'm gonna sit in this and get a lesson and have some communion. And I'm gonna grow from this and get a blessing. So I don't identify with the depression that I am depressed. It's a moment. It's moving.
Do we have to get to the dark to see the light?
Well, sometimes when you miss it, sometimes you miss it. And that's why I say, how long do you stay in the darkness to get to the light? Depends upon how you got techniques and tools and a consciousness and means to readjust, So, but I don't pathologize the darkness. A lot of therapists do. They want to take away your pain. Oh, don't think like that. No, I sit in it with you.
We'll sit in it.
And we walk through it.
And what does that look like sitting? Is it just talking about it? What is that?
Just think if the sun always shines. We have night.
We have night.
We have black people.
We got
we got black people. Okay?
Right.
We don't pathologize the darkness. It just is.
It just is. So it's okay. You're saying
it's okay. We sleep. We gotta sleep. We gotta go into the dark to sleep. We die every night. We're all gonna go into the darkness.
So the pain is okay.
I don't like pain.
Right.
But, with pain is unfortunately how the universe gets our attention.
It gets our attention. You're like, what's been like a spiritual moment? Some people feel like maybe they have to be on drugs to get this experience, but has there been like this one moment of like, wow, like?
Well, I wasn't very spiritual at the time. I was into all young things that young people are into. I had my own apartment, the whole thing. I'm gonna shorten the story. I got evicted from my apartment. I lost my new job, teaching at the school, so I couldn't pay for my new car. My motorbike chained to a tree got stolen. I was walking from the bank to my home. I had about $8,000. At that time, it was a lot of money, like maybe that's $30,000, $40,000 these days. Was pigeon dropped. Anyway, everything was taken away from me. I couldn't even get into the apartment, went to the apartment and they had put a chain on the door. So I couldn't get all my little equipment and clothes. I only had the one set of clothes on my back and no money to even, in those days I had payphone, to even a quarter to call my parents to say, come and get me, who lived in Carson and I was on Pico. And
wow. So homeless, you talking about?
Nice word for it. And I said, why am I not dead? Because in that consciousness, this material stuff, that was life. Money, house, car, motorbike, apartment, filled with things. That was life. And I said, why am I not dead? And the voice came, you're breathing. And then I said, I want to do yoga. Yoga wasn't even around. You couldn't, it just wasn't, it was like in sea. And I started doing yoga in 1974. And I found through a miracle my teacher and haven't stopped practicing since.
One last thing. What is the legacy of Dr. Siri? What do you want to leave behind? What is that message that you want, if you could have everybody to understand or grasp, what would that be?
Well, the word that really comes is humility. but it's all the divine. I just surrender to that. So I sometimes wish my ego was bigger. I probably even have more, but it's all the divine. And so my work is to constantly surrender to that. And so, sounds trite, but the greatness is thine.
The greatness is thine. Thank you so much, Dr. Siri. I really appreciate this. I learned so much, and you're a blessing. Thank you.
My pleasure.